Hello everyone, welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be working from this image, which is very near and dear to my heart, of Laurence Fishburne as Morpheus from The Matrix. And this character and this film left an impression upon me, and I think it was like my final year of high school. I saw The Matrix, and it introduced me to so many philosophical ideas, and it was packaged in a way of special effects and action that appealed to me very much at that time. And yeah, it just got me questioning and thinking about so many things. I enjoyed it so much. And I thought it would be cool to draw Morpheus today. And we're focusing on shadow shapes. And this is a very cool shadow shapes reference. And if you squint at it, it's interesting. The transitions between the light and shadow shapes are quite soft in the skin tones. But it's quite dark, and through the center and up to the top of the head, there's like where the main highlights are. So it's really interesting learning how to see what's actually like belongs in the shadow family and what's in the light family, like these two separate groups, and how they relate to each other. That is something we move towards as we keep kind of learning how to get familiar with values and transitions and this idea of using shapes to put together our drawings. June is here. Carrie do. Hi, Thomas, Kiki, hello, hola, Luis, Wolverine, buenas noches. Yeah, say hello in the chat. If you're watching the replay, I would also love you to say hello. You can get into the comments and leave a comment. Hi, Stephanie. Tomorrow, just before we get into drawing this, here we go. Have you seen this yet? I did another version of Almond Ice Sky, and I made a post on Instagram because tomorrow I'm hosting my Shadow Shapes workshop, and the link is in the description. You can head over to dylansara.com and you can buy your ticket for tomorrow's workshop. This time tomorrow we're going to be in the middle of the workshop, so the live stream is going to be much earlier tomorrow. This was such a cool reference, so much fun. If you check out my Instagram, you'll see this step by step as I just put in the shapes indicating where the ink was going to go and the shadows, and then I added those kind of mid-tones towards the end. And this is such a cool reference photo. I know a lot of people really liked this one, so I decided to do another version of it. And actually, during a mentorship call, I did another version of it. This was a 2-minute version, just focusing on some of those shadow shapes. So yeah, I'd love you to join my workshop tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who has already signed up to the workshop, because it's going to be great. I can't wait to hang out with you tomorrow. And it's a 2-part workshop. June says, waiting, lost in Procreate. Me too. There's a second workshop, and I'll be focusing on shapes in Procreate on the 5th of April. So check out dylansara.com for the tickets to the workshops, and let's draw Laurence Fishburne as Morpheus. So I have different colors here. I love the colors. Just looking at these images, very nostalgic for me from my days back in The Matrix. And I've got a different color here, leaf green from the Inktense pencil, and I'm going to use it with deep indigo. And the red of the lips is really nice, and maybe some of the couch, but I don't want to spend too long today. But let's just get into it, get drawing. And I'll start with this leaf green color. So leaf green and indigo together. Thank you, Wolverine. I'll put 10 minutes on and see what happens. Keeping a bit smaller today, and sometimes working smaller also just takes less time. So we'll see. There's a lot going on. There is stuff happening in my house, and kind of got to get to bed early, so I'm going to keep this fairly brief. How's everyone doing? How was your week? What has been your favorite portrait that we've drawn this week, I wonder? What was mine? Who has seen The Matrix? So yeah, it was my last year of high school. And it just... The Matrix had me. I was so into it. It started with like the first time seeing the advertising and just the line that Morpheus said that no one could be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. I was like, what is it? What is it? What is he talking about? That looks really cool. And I saw the Matrix so many times. I loved it. Yeah, it really introduced me to a lot of like philosophical ideas I had not been in contact with before then. So I must have been like 17 at the time. And the music, the whole aesthetic, I was right into it. So this is kind of interesting. I ended up making it much smaller than I thought I was going to, but that's all right. I'll just go with that. I'm going to, oh, there's some red there. I was testing colors before I did this. I just want to put something down so I have like my light shapes, which there aren't that many of. So I'm thinking of these as my lighter shapes. And I wanted some red in the lip, but I'll just start with that and maybe we can add some to it. Yeah, and just quickly putting this down. It's interesting to switch into like quick practice mode. I've done some pretty comparatively lengthy drawings this week. Some of the live streams went for like 40 minutes. I had, I think it was in January, I tested doing some 5-minute portraits. And I think one of the live streams was less than 7 minutes, which was a record. So yeah, now my perception is switching into shadow shape mode. And so thinking of the line work and also thinking of the dark shapes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any questions about the workshop or things that you're hoping that I'll address in the workshop, feel free to ask. I'm really looking forward to the workshop because last year in December, I hosted each Sunday of Advent. 4 Sundays in a row, I was hosting workshops. And it was just such a nice way to teach, to hang out and draw together in Zoom. And yeah, it felt like a really different kind of format. Different to live streams. Often I'm just kind of doing my thing with a bit of like explaining, but somewhere between live streams and my monthly tutorials, which are very instructional and focused on whatever the focus is. And with the added bonus of hanging out with cool people, because I like people. I was wondering about portraiture today, and like why portraiture? Like why draw faces all the time? And I think I just really like people, and I know that people there's a lot going on. I had some nice experiences today, and kind of like interesting coincidences, ending up in places I didn't expect, which led me to meeting some nice people, and these kind of like go with the flow moments in life, which just kind of lead you to unexpected things. Even if it's, in this case, it was a a shopping experience. So it's pretty small scale. But I had been thinking, we have rabbits, right? And we got more rabbits, and they need some more space. And I was thinking about it, and I went driving today just to go food shopping for the family, not for the rabbits. And I had to take a detour, and I had decided not to go to the farm store, it's called. But I was thinking about new living arrangements for the rabbits with a bit more space. And then we had a detour, and I followed the detour and was like, oh, this is not the way I thought I'd be going. And the detour, it took me along roads I had never been, and I ended up right out the front of the farmer store. I was like, okay, well, let's go there and get some rabbit food. And then we found this rabbit hutch, which was on sale, half price, because it had been like the demo model from last year from the shop. And I was like, oh, maybe this is what we need for the rabbits. And like this street detour and going to the shop there, I was like, oh, look, wow, this is on sale, and maybe we could get this. And then we started talking to this guy who was working there, who turned out to be the manager of the store, and just had a super nice chat with him. And it was just a nice interpersonal experience. And it was like the roadworks led me down this road I wouldn't have expected, which led me there and led me to meeting this guy. And it was just really nice. And I was with my kid, and we just had this nice conversation, and it was nice. And it was like if I had just gone to the shops and gone and thought, oh, okay, I'm just going to go buy food for the people, not the rabbits, then I wouldn't have met this person. And it was just kind of interesting. And yeah, and then I was thinking about drawing portraits and about people. And I'm very aware of all sorts of terrible things and wonderful things that people do and are capable of. And I find that in most of my interactions, I feel like I meet pretty nice people. It's not always the case. Sometimes people have bad moods, and it fluctuates. But there's something about people that I enjoy. So it's interesting to just kind of just thinking about like, oh, why am I so drawn to faces? And I think there's something about just sharing experience as a person, whether it's a fictional character or someone known by many or known by a few, just all these different people inhabiting the world. So there's interesting stuff happening like here, where there's like this really soft transitions from the shadow shapes to the light, and just because I'm looking here, just kind of layering a bit of the like. I can go in again and make it darker again, which I think in this reference would be really cool. But just thinking about there's something with the edge of these different shapes, like depending on how complex we're getting or how brief it is, the way we can stylize the decision, and as we start to perceive, okay, there's a really soft transition here, how soft do I make it, how hard, and like layering up and building up towards darkness, that can have like this subtle layered approach to developing shadows, or the variation between the shadows and the light. But yeah, it's really interesting to then explore like, oh, how can I... You can choose to like go hard with your shadow shapes, but because there's such subtle transitions between the light and darkness here, it's interesting just to think, oh, how could this be kind of addressed in a subtle kind of way. That was 10 minutes. I'll put the 10-minute timer on again. Hello, Nicole. June says, how much explaining will there be of Procreate? I want to maneuver imported paintings and find it hard to change paint colours. Oh, I can show you how to change paint colors. There'll be a lot of color selection. Yeah, I'll be making a portrait from scratch. But if there are specific questions of like, how do you do this thing? I've always wondered how to do this thing. If I know the answer, then I'm happy to tell you. I know how to import images and make layers, to how to paint on top of the image. I'm mostly going to focus on the freehand selection tool because it's going to be all about shapes. So I won't get in, like there are so many different brushes and stuff. I won't get into that too much, but I'm happy to address some of that for sure. But if there are specific questions, feel free to ask. And it may be, I will show you, there's a way that I use Procreate so that I have my reference image alongside and I'm doing it all by eye. I know that sometimes people will import images into Procreate and then continue to like work on them and kind of manipulate things a bit and change things. And I know some people may, like, something that I've heard, which was interesting, because I was like, oh yeah, Procreate, I find it super intuitive. And a friend from my Tuesday drawing groups, like, maybe that's because you know other computer programs, and like, because I used Photoshop since high school, and I've worked with some 3D animation programs and had to learn different programs, AutoCAD, and then when it came to Procreate, I was like, oh yeah, this seems fairly straightforward and intuitive, and I enjoy the process. But my friend said that's not what their experience was at all. So I know that people have different experiences, and I'll be able to talk through each step of the process of how I get to different things. But it will be focused on that shape-centric way of drawing, of putting an image together, which is lots of layering of transparent shapes, and is a really great exercise in recognizing shapes. That's what I feel like the main focus of it is going to be, but it will be able to incorporate many different aspects, because I often do a bit of line work if I want to really accentuate something. So I think there'll be a lot of ground covered. It will be impossible in the time we have to talk about everything in Procreate, and will be specifically focusing on the way that I like to use it. Junior from the horse and buggy era, not from the computer one, so it's hard to wrap your head around such programs. I think I will be able to explain to you how a few functions work, and with those that you'll be able to make things with it. Because I use a very limited selection of the tools that are available, but it's the way that I have found to be most like interesting, because it's a way that I can't work on paper. So I think I have once, years ago, I did a German language Procreate workshop. And there I also had people who were like, I just do not get this program at all. Like, how am I even supposed to use it? And so I was able to cover a lot of different kind of basic foundational things you need to know just to be able to start using it, if that helps. And what I was saying yesterday is I also feel like the way that I use it it's a really good exercise in this shape recognition. I've been talking about shapes a lot. And with traditional media tomorrow in the workshop, we'll focus on, I'm going to be using pencil and ink, and it's going to be all about shadow shapes and light shapes, value shapes, and how we can work with it with these few traditional tools. And the Procreate workshop will kind of deepen that way of looking at shapes into much subtler shadow shapes, and here these kind of transitions, this would be a really interesting one to do actually. Like how to achieve soft transitions by layering transparent shapes, which I really like. Hi Kat, you also drew this portrait with gouache. Cool. When did you make it? Nice to have you here. I think this is, I don't know. I loved The Matrix so much. It was like, it meant so much to me. But I think at the time I was drawing stuff from my dreams, Morpheus and dreams. But I wasn't doing like fan art stuff of The Matrix, I think. Although I did draw someone who had, I think maybe their mouth like sticking shut, like Mr. Anderson. But it was like back then, I used to draw, but I didn't, not like I do these days. It was like when the spirit took me, and it was usually stuff from my imagination. I didn't draw a lot from reference back then, which is interesting. So this may be the first Matrix portrait that I've really done, which is interesting because like I knew these films inside out. Time traveling with portraiture. So no one really answered. I asked earlier, like, who's seen The Matrix, and Carrie Doo said Matrix forever. That was nice. But maybe, I don't know. Yeah, Elizabeth. June, there are some excellent how-to videos on YouTube. You could try searching, for example, Procreate, how to import image, or Procreate, how to change paint colors. Yes, that is true. I was thinking, like, I'll be able to explain a lot of things, and there is so much available in terms of tutorials, videos. YouTube is really... YouTube is owned by Google and is actually, after Google, is the second biggest search engine. Like people use YouTube like a search engine to find videos to solve their questions, solve their problems and answer their questions. So yeah, you'll totally be able to find Procreate tutorials on YouTube, which could be a good complement to whatever I have to share. And it depends what your goals are, how you want to use it, and what exactly it is you want to do with it. Nicole, you're keen to watch it with your kids. How old are your kids? Not sure when they'll be ready for The Matrix. I'm not sure either. Definitely no way. Not in the near future. My oldest is 11, but man, I watched so much stuff, and I question a lot of things. So The Matrix, I watched it. It made me question a lot of things, and also the music I was listening to around then. There were so many things. It was a very interesting phase of my life where I started like questioning everything, basically. And I'm really, really critical of violence in entertainment and the glorification of violence. And that is something that I would like to protect my kids from, even though I know I watched a lot of very violent stuff. But it's something that I question a lot. The desensitization. I used to be proud of how desensitized I was. And I remember like in primary school watching the first horror movie, which I wasn't planning on, but it was a friend's birthday party. And I remember kind of being shocked by it. But then after that being like, oh, somehow like adjusted to things. And yeah, and I feel like the kind of Oh, there's something in there's also something to violence. um, oh, this is a big topic which we're not going to cover because my timer just went off, and I wanted to keep this short today. But I also, I wonder. It's still going to take a while. Definitely not for an 11-year-old. And it's interesting about sharing stuff with kids. I've talked a few times. Some of the stuff that I really liked, like even Astro Boy, which I must have watched when I was little. And then I watched it because I was thinking, I remember loving Astro Boy. And then watching it with my kid, I was just like, whoa, this is intense. All these like explosions and blowing stuff up and all this like destruction and shooting stuff out of your hands, like this little childlike cute figure who's like blowing up all these robots and stuff. I was like, whoa, what's this? So I don't know, 12 and 15. Yeah, interesting. Hello, Tommy. Hello. I would love to keep going on this, but I'm going to stop. But here's my Morpheus. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I just made it nice and dark. It's actually a bit brighter than that, but nice, moody, dark. June asked, what year was that? I have not seen it. I know how to import, but I've had no help changing the colours of my paintings. So you're putting your paintings into Procreate and you'd like to adjust the colour. Okay. There are a few different ways to do that. And it's definitely something I could touch upon. Like that you can use curves. There's this curves thing and you can move a few points and it will kind of adjust stuff. I also, in the Photos app, I do some adjustment. The photos that I take of my drawings and paintings never look like, to my eye, the photos I take never look like what I'm looking at. So I always have to do adjustments and stuff. I do a lot of adjusting my photos, even if it's just a photo. What pill would I take? That's an interesting question. And it's also interesting that the pill taking turned into this weird, like politicized thing. But I feel like I would like, I don't know, I would like to be aware of truth and reality. I also like feeling comfortable and good, but I also don't mind the cold. So, we might have to get deeper into this pill taking this discussion in the next installation. But Hesh, do you have an answer? Thank you, Kiki. Ulverine says the first really cool film I watched was when a friend of my dad bought a VHS with him. It was Willow. That blew your mind. Yeah, Willow. I feel like The Neverending Story was kind of like that for me. And that I must have been little, because I know where I watched The Neverending Story. Anything that happened in that phase of my life was before I was 7. So I watched The Neverending Story, and that was something for me. Which the book is so much better. Both. I'd take both pills. Hop hop. Yeah, just snatch both of them and see what happens. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Day to day, every day, what pill would I take? All right, that's it for today. Let's do more Matrix portraits in the future. Come to my workshop tomorrow if you want. I didn't answer your question, Hesh. But I don't know. Shadow shapes. We've been working with shadow shapes all month, and tomorrow is my Zoom workshop. Come hang out with me in Zoom. Costs €19, and I'm going to have a second workshop on the 5th of April, and if you get both of them, it's $29 for both of them, so you save some money if you get both of the workshops, and we get to hang out with each other more, and it's going to be really cool. It's a super fun format, the Zoom workshops, actually being able to sit together and talk together, and we'll be doing shadow shapes and talking a lot about shadow shapes, and also having more time. So all of these have been done in like 30 minutes tops, but we're going to have some more time to get into things, working with some different materials. So it's going to be really cool, and I would love to have you there. Look at all of these faces. So many faces. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Laurence, for being so cool. And thank you for the dreams, sweet Morpheus, and sweet dreams to all of you. My live stream will be earlier, much earlier in the day tomorrow. I'm not sure when yet. It'll be spontaneous. Just letting you know. But you can watch the replay